Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out what happened to London's trams.
Ask most people what they know about trams in London and they'll say,
I know there's trams in Croydon, but I think that's it.
but did you know London used to have the biggest tram network in Europe? So what happened to it? And why is Croydon the only part of London that has trams today?
Y'all, this is Jay Foreman, one half of the Map Men. And today, he's going to tell us what happened to the trams in London. And he's wearing a dress. Quite lovely. He looks great. Jay, you should consider this as part of your permanent wardrobe. How did he do that, though? How did he do that?
But I think that's it.
But did you know London used to have the biggest tram network in Europe? So what happened to it? And why is Croydon the only part of London that has trams today? In oldie world,
Y'all be sure to go to Jay Foreman and like and subscribe. What is happening here? That's not a real horse. I think Jay is playing the horse. I recognize his tricep.
In oldie-worldy times, when pretty much every mode of transport involved a horse, the best way of getting lots of people to the same place was an omnibus. It was an uncomfortable and bumpy ride. But a clever solution would be brought to London by an eccentric Victorian billionaire from America whose...
I'm sorry, an omnibus? Is that what that is? So people would just jump on? Okay. I see the double-decker origins. Let me just look up omnibus real quick. Omnibus. Not roots. Just the bus itself. Oh, it's one word. A volume containing several novels or other items previously... No. A bus is the other definition. Oh, is that there? That's where the word bus comes from. Okay.
The best way of getting lots of people to the same place was an omnibus. It was an uncomfortable and bumpy ride. But a clever solution would be brought to London by an eccentric Victorian billionaire from America whose name was George Francis Train.
Why? Okay. Why the hat? That's hilarious. But sometimes in these Jay Foreman videos, there's a hidden meaning behind these jokes. George Francis Train. Okay. It came up even though I misspelled it. Come in. Or don't. His last name is Train. And we're about to talk about transportation. An American businessman. In 1870, Train made the first of 3 widely publicized trips around the globe. He believes he inspired Jules Verne to ride around the world in 80 days. He ran for president. Y'all, he sounds like an extremely confident narcissist. He's from Boston. Why the hat? He's not wearing a hat in this photo. He took his hat off for the photo. It's down here by his side. Come in. Or don't. Let's just look up photos of him. See if the hat shows up. No hat? Okay. Jay took some artistic liberty with the hat, but I like it still.
Brought to London by an eccentric Victorian billionaire from America whose name was George Francis Train.
Ha! Really?
Mr. Train's cleverly simple idea was to have omnibuses run on rails running along the street. Mr. Train called them trams. Suddenly, horses could carry much heavier loads and go much faster and smoother without giving everyone an orgasm.
Wait. Why would that be a bad thing? I mean, why is that a good thing? Orgasms are good, right? I can see how that would be a much smoother ride on tracks. Probably easier for the horses, too, because they probably learn to just see the tracks and follow the tracks, right?
Horses could carry much heavier loads and go much faster and smoother without giving everyone an orgasm. This also made them affordable.
She's disappointed. I love that.
And go much faster and smoother without giving everyone an orgasm.
Oh.
This also made them affordable. Fares were set at the reasonable price of half a penny.
But other road users hated Train's trams.
He's cutting a penny in half. Yeah, before you get on the train, you gotta cut the penny in half. Correct change only.
But other road users hated Train's trams. The rails weren't recessed into the road, they stuck out good and proper, tripping up other vehicles and causing their wheels to break off. But Train continued to build his tramways all over...
Wait, causing their wheels to break off? That was a very Monty Python-esque animation. Let's watch it again.
Tripping up other vehicles and causing their wheels to break off. But Train continued to build his tramways all over London without ever asking permission first. until he was stopped in his tracks in 1861 when he was arrested for breaking and injuring the Uxbridge Road.
That hat. What does this say? What does this say here? Breaking and injuring the something bridge road. He broke the road, y'all. You can't do that. You can't break a road. Don't break a road, George Francis, whatever your name was.
Breaking and injuring the Uxbridge Road.
Breaking and injuring the Uxbridge Road. If I just listened, right?
Tracks in 1861 when he was arrested for breaking and injuring the Uxbridge Road. From now on, any entrepreneur wanting to build tramways in... From now on, any entrepreneur wanting to build tram...
That was beautiful. I love that he left that in there, and I love that he thought to run after the guy. Hilarious, Jay. Jay has great comedic instincts, y'all.
1861 when he was arrested for breaking and injuring the Uxbridge Road.
Let's watch it again.
From now on, any entrepreneur wanting to build tramways in... From now on, any entrepreneur wanting to build tramways in London would have to bury their tracks nicely into the road out of harm's way and pay for the maintenance of the entire road surface. This meant they now had to solve a rather sticky problem.
The average horse produced between 15 and 35 pounds of manure per day. It was famously predicted that if London's horse traffic continued to increase, it would be 9 foot deep in horse manure by 1950.
The solution eventually came at the end.
Wait, okay. Why? Okay, so because there's more horses, they wanted to put more horses out there, right? Is that what he's saying?
From now on, any entrepreneur wanting to build tramways in London would have to bury their tracks nicely into the road out of harm's way and pay for the maintenance of the entire road surface. This meant they now had to solve a rather sticky problem.
Okay, they had to pay to clean up the horse. Clean up that horse.
The average horse produced between 15 and 35 pounds of manure per day. It was famously predicted that if London's horse traffic continued to increase, it would be 9 foot deep in horse manure by 1950.
The solution of...
I'm just listening to the music, and it's, there's some fart tracks in there. It's very fitting, Jay. I appreciate the music. Let's listen to the music again, y'all.
This meant they now had to solve a rather sticky problem.
The average horse produced between 15 and 35 pounds of manure per day. It was famously predicted that if London's horse traffic continued to increase, it would be 9 foot deep in horse manure by 1950.
The solution eventually came at the end of the 19th century with a source that was safe, efficient, cheap, clean and reliable: electricity.
Electricity could be harvested.
Surprise. We all thought the guy in the back was going to get electrocuted, but Jay got electrocuted in the foreground.
Electricity could be harvested either from cables above the road or a conduit below. Now that horses were no longer required and the trams were totally turd-free, the network was able to grow and grow.
That horse is on vacation, y'all. St. Bart's. Nice. There's a jet ski in the back. Very nice.
No longer required and the trams were totally turd-free, the network was able to grow and grow. The London County Council built new connections linking working-class suburbs with industrial areas to help get people to work, making it the first truly public transport system in London. They spread particularly far in South and East London to areas which, by no coincidence at all, continue to be poorly served by the tube.
Everywhere in London was getting electric trams. Well, almost everywhere.
If you look at this map of the network, you'll see a vast area close to central London where tram tracks fear to tread.
I bet that's where the rich people live, y'all.
These were the posh parts of town: Kensington and Westminster.
Well,
Yeah. That's how it is in Los Angeles, too, y'all. There's a big blank spot in the metro system, and it's called Beverly Hills.
Fear to tread. These were the posh parts of town: Kensington and Westminster.
well, that's understandable, I suppose. Westminster had historic streets, and those overhead cables were so ugly. That was the reason they weren't wanted here, right?
Wrong. Many trams used the conduit system with no visible cables. So if it wasn't cables, why were they so trams-phobic?
They don't want the poor people coming round, y'all, asking for food and shelter. How dare they?
Trams, for want of a better expression, were for poor people.
Local campaigners complained that trams catered for an undesirable class of person and successfully kept the entire central London area unbetrammed.
Someone wash this child. He's just doing the good work. What kind of cleaner are they using? What is that? Mr. Muscle. They had Mr. Muscle back then? I've never heard of Mr. Muscle. Is that like Mr. Clean? Oh, I can get a bottle of it for $17.88. No, thank you.
Person, and successfully kept the entire central London area unbetrammed.
Thank you, sir.
Because of this, two vast networks north and south of the river remained unconnected. Not because of the Thames, but because of toffs. And it would stay like this until 1906, when a big and very impressive tram infrastructure project was built here.
Kingsway in Holborn was built by bulldozing straight down the middle of the slums. The Victorians used to do this sort of thing all the time. But Kingsway was special because it came with its very own tram tunnel, something never done in London before, or since.
This small but truly unique piece of track linking north to south meant that by 1914, London had the biggest tram network in Europe. Yay! But not for long.
Let's look at that photo of the tram station. It reminds me of a modern-day subway station, but the tracks are not as deep, and it's like a double-decker train, which is really crazy. It seems like those would fall over all the time, doesn't it?
This small but truly unique piece of track linking north to south meant that by 1914, London had the biggest tram network in Europe. Yay! But not for long.
After World War I, money was tight.
They're gluing that penny back together, y'all. Money's tight. With W.H. Smith multi-purpose PVA glue. Smart.
Tram rails were expensive to maintain.
So the tram operators began turning to a newer, cheaper piece of technology, the trolley bus.
Wow, that's a risky move, Jay. What if he hit a rock? No more Jay. What if he hit a car? No more Jay. Wow, let's watch that bit again.
So the tram operators began turning to a newer, cheaper piece of technology, the trolley bus.
And how do you get the cart to just go straight like that? Any shopping cart that I've ever seen, the wheels are like all over the place. They don't go straight by themselves. You could have hit this Porsche LX5IFSZ. If you're out there, you almost got hit. You didn't even know it. Let's watch it one more time. I love it so much.
So the tram operators began turning to a newer, cheaper piece of technology, the trolley bus.
Trolley buses were like trams, but on pneumatic tyres. They didn't need rails, which meant they were quieter and more flexible. And they could overtake things like this dig.
It was the beginning of the end.
Wow. It's strange that they still have the power cables in the air, right?
Quieter and more flexible. And they could overtake things like this dig.
It was the beginning of the end for the tram, and the middle of the beginning for the trolley bus. But alas, alack, London's trolley buses were not long for this world.
It was the end of the road for the tram, the middle of the road for the trolley bus. Okay.
Like this dig.
It was the beginning of the end for the tram, and the middle of the beginning for the trolley bus. But alas, alack, London's trolley buses were not long for this world.
One person whose fault this was Minister for Transport Ernest Marples, the man responsible for provisional driving licences, MOTs, traffic wardens, single yellow lines, double yellow lines, Dr. Beaching, and several affairs with prostitutes.
Ernest Marples. Show me on Wikipedia. What? Oh, his eyes are great. He looks like a demon. Ernest Marples, a British Conservative politician who served as Postmaster General and Minister of Transport. Blah, blah, blah. Shortly after he became a junior minister in November 1951, Marples resigned as managing director of Marples Ridgeway, but continued to hold some 80% of the firm's shares. Conflict of interest. Ernest. Oh. He opened the first section of the M1 motorway. Is that a good thing? Use of prostitutes. That's a whole section in his Wikipedia. Let's read the paragraph. When Lord Denning made his 1963 investigation into the security aspects of the Profumo affair and the rumored affair between the Minister of Defense, Duncan Sandys, and the Duchess of Argyll, he confirmed to Macmillan that a rumor that Ernest Marples was in the habit of using prostitutes appeared to be true. In early 2020, the rumors were corroborated by broadcaster and investigative journalist Tom Mangold, based on the diaries of Lord Denning's then secretary, Thomas Critchley. The diaries reported the transport minister's fetish for being whipped while dressed in women's clothing. Let's not kink shame. That's fine. Do it, as described in great detail by one of the prostitutes who had provided these services to Marples, and confirmed at the time by her detailed knowledge of the interior of Marples' home where the events took place. The story was suppressed and did not appear in Denning's final report. Wow. Ernest. I mean, you gotta get it somewhere, right? Marples suddenly fled to Monaco. Isn't Monaco really nice? He left just before the end of the tax year, fearing that he would otherwise be liable for a substantial tax bill. Oh yeah, Monaco, no tax, right? How did he die? He died in Princess Grace Hospital Center, Monaco, on July 6, 1978. In his will, he left property valued at £388,166. He is buried in a family plot in Southern Cemetery, Manchester. But how did he die? He probably pooped to death, y'all. That's what it means if they don't tell you. He died of natural causes at the age of 80. He pooped to death, y'all. Let's forgive Ernest Marples, y'all. He did some good stuff, right? Let's forgive him for being rich and having awesome sex, right?
Marples wanted people driving more, partly because the car was a symbol for individual freedom, but partly because Marples' family ran a tarmac company.
Marples got councils to change their streets to make more room for cars, which meant cables had to be torn down. London's vast network of trams and trolley buses would need to be replaced by motorbuses.
Until then, the idea of getting motorbuses to take on such a big job was unthinkable. Motorbuses were small and heavy and noisy and inefficient. But that would all change in 1959.
Jay, get out of the road. There's buses trying to get by you. Who's the dick now, Jay? Y'all, the same thing happened in Los Angeles. We used to have the best train system. Similar thing. But the car people were like, we need more cars. We need to sell more cars. Let's make it all about cars. Let's build more highways. Cars. Tires.
The new Rootmaster Bus, which was super efficient and ran on diesel, could carry almost as many people as a trolley bus, but had two massive advantages. One, drivers wouldn't have to worry about the trolley poles coming loose, and two, they could overtake each other. In fact, they could go literally anywhere.
With diesel fuel now...
Literally. I'm sorry. They, had what were they?
Two massive advantages. One, drivers wouldn't have to worry about the trolley poles coming loose.
The trolley poles coming loose? But what happened when the trolley poles came loose? Trolley pole. No. Oh. That's the thing that would connect the wire to the bus, and I guess it would just lose power. It's surprising that worked, isn't it? Like, electricity through a little metal wheel would power that whole thing.
And two, they could overtake each other. In fact, they could go literally anywhere.
With diesel fuel now cheaper than ever, it was a no-brainer. From 1959, Rootmasters began replacing tram and trolley bus routes all over London.
The network's capacity was reduced slightly, but since passenger numbers were dwindling anyway, nobody cared. Well,
Let's look at that graphic. London Trolley Bus Network, growth and decline, 1931 to 62. London Trolley Bus Transport, London Transport Executive, and Trolley Bus.
Reduced slightly, but since passenger numbers were dwindling anyway, nobody cared. Well, lots of people cared and they were really upset about it, but nobody who mattered cared.
It was out with the...
Only the poor people cared.
It was out with the... and in with the... So, is there anything left of London's tram and trolley bus network that you can still see today? Well...
There are a few surviving tram sheds, some still with tram tracks in.
Oh, wow.
There's a couple of trolley poles still there that are now used as lampposts.
Ooh.
There's a bus route in West London that still uses the number 607, the same as the original trolley.
Boring!
And this building in Walthamstow has the word tramway on it.
So the answer is no, not really. Nothing impressive. With one massive exception. This is what's left of the Kingsway tunnel.
You can still see very, very, very clearly where the tram tunnel entrance used to be. Sometimes they open it up for tours, sometimes they use it as an art gallery, but at the moment it's being used to help Crossrail construction. Down at the other end, the entrance has been turned into the door of a nightclub, and the middle half has been turned into the Strand underpass.
And so the trams and trolley buses had gone, and London forgot about them. And so did the whole country.
Cities up and down the UK were ripping up their...
Man, I wonder how pollution would be different if they stuck with the electric trams instead of went with the diesel. You know?
Cities up and down the UK were ripping up their tram tracks and pulling down their trolley cables.
Damn.
The only place in the country that kept its tram was Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
Trams for decades evoked images of nostalgia in the olden days.
I used to take the tram for a farthing.
Even the word tram was funny.
Straight in front of a tram.
But then, something changed.
Traffic congestion was worsening, demand for public transport was increasing, pollution became a thing, and trams, suddenly, all of a sudden, had gradually started to suddenly become appealing again.
Croydon in South London, which had a growing town centre and no tube, was the perfect place for a 21st century experiment. For the first time in 48 years, trams were coming back.
All right.
These trams would be a fair bit different from the 20th century ones. They were single, not double-decker,
Okay.
and they were multiple articulated units, which basically means they're bending. As well as running
Like
on
an
the streets, the
accordion.
new trams
Like an accordion. Have we heard an accordion?
were articulated
It'd be great if they made that sound.
units, which basically means they're bending. As well as running on the streets, the new trams would make use of bits of disused or underused railways, combining the on-street convenience of buses with the separateness and speed of trains.
The Croydon tram link opened in 2000 was an instant hit, attracting 15 million passengers in its
Get out
first
of the
year.
way.
And that number's kept
Get out of
going up
the
ever
way.
since.
At around the same time, very similar
Y'all, you almost got it. I wish they left the camera running. Jay, let us see the end of that clip.
Passengers in its first year. And that number's kept going up ever since.
At around the same time, very similar tram schemes opened in Manchester, Nottingham, Sheffield, Birmingham and Edinburgh. And don't get me started on the resurgence of trams in the rest of Europe.
So trams are very much back in business for the 21st century. But what about London? Are there plans for any more new...
The 21th. I like that word.
Very much back in business for the 21st century. But what about London? Are there plans for any more new tram routes in London?
Everybody on this train's just like in their own world. Let's just watch this guy watch Jay. If I could zoom in on him. Let's just watch this guy.
So trams are very much back in business for the 21st century.
He's looking at his phone, and as soon as Jay starts talking, he's like... He's not into it.
So trams are very much back in business for the 21st century. But what about London? Are there plans for any more new tram routes in London?
He's totally not entertained. Okay, sorry.
Cross River Tramway, planned to open in 2016, was meant to run from Camden Town to Peckham/Brixton. The route used Kingsway, but bafflingly had no intention of using the old Kingsway tunnel, instead running on the street above. The scheme had plenty of
Use the
support,
tunnel.
but not enough plenty of money, so it never happened.
Then there was the West London tram, planned to run along one of London's busiest bus corridors from Shepherd's Bush to Uxbridge. But two burly men in suits holding a big sign were stood in the way, so this never happened either.
To be fair, a road like this isn't suitable for...
That's all it takes to make change, y'all. Wear a suit and get a sign. Smart guys. Shepherd's Bush.
To be fair, a road like this isn't suitable for modern trams, and most of London isn't. To dig up a street this narrow to build the tracks would be prohibitively impractical.
Some campaigners tried to save the West
Supercalifragilistic. Let's hear that again.
Narrow to build the tracks would be prohibitively impractical.
Some campaigners tried to save the West London tram by suggesting a compromise, where they just put the electricity cables up and make it a West London trolley bus instead.
Personally, I think that would have been a brilliant idea. A trolley bus is the best of both worlds. Cheaper and easier to build than a tram, but it still replaces noisy, polluting
electric.
buses. In fact, come to think of it, why don't we do that everywhere?
London's more than 8,000 buses are a
Yeah, that's standard by.
Come to think of it, why don't we do that
Let's look over here on the right of the screen. Oh, she's not into it.
everywhere?
London's more than
Hey. Oh, whoa. Face paint. She made it into the video, y'all. Hey, girl. You did it. You made it into the video. And I just want to say hello.
8,000 buses are a huge source of dangerous polluting air that kills 9,500 people per year. TfL have tried to make them greener, but the best they've been able to come up with is a hybrid bus that uses its diesel engine a mere most of the time.
The bad news is the technology for a 100% pollution-free bus that doesn't need cables at all is not coming anytime soon. So I say, let's get a groove on and hang those cables back up.
Yeah.
A modern trolley bus would only need cables on 2/3 of its route, and those cables wouldn't need to be so spiderwebby anymore.
There's no avoiding it. Those overhead wires would still be fugly. But it's not just technology that's moved on, it's our priorities too. And if 21st century Londoners finally get to breathe clean air, then those hideous wires might end up looking quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to hear my new podcast?
No.
Great! It's called Mates Bants with an 8 and a Z.
Hi, I'm Richard, and I'm not Richard. And welcome to The Experts. The audio quality's really terrible.
Oh, I knew I was no good at recording podcasts. I don't have the knowledge how to do it. I'm rubbish.
There. I have a solution for you. Why don't you sign up for a monthly subscription to Skillshare? Skillshare is an online learning tool where you can...
Oh, wait. No, I almost stopped it and fast-forwarded it, but Jay always makes these advertisements entertaining, so let's watch.
Take a course about how to make podcasts sound good. Or if podcasts aren't the thing you want to get better at, there are courses about music production or video editing. That's my favourite. Or animation. What's more, if you click the link in the description below, the first 500 of you will get Skillshare for free for the first 2 months.
Oh my gosh, thank you. How can I ever repay you?
Just under $10 per month should do it. That's how much it costs for an annual subscription to Skillshare. When I say Skillsh, you say air. Skillsh.
Air.
Skillsh.
Air.
Skillsh.
Air. Air.
Ah, I didn't say Skillsh.
Wow. Great video, Jay. Trams, y'all. Electric trams. I think he's right. So what happened to London's trams? Capitalism. Y'all be sure to go to Jay Foreman and like and subscribe. He makes some of my favorite videos, but he hasn't really made any videos in a while. Makes me sad. But there's still some old ones I haven't seen yet, and I'm trying to space them out. This was a good one. Well, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. I'd like to thank Jay Foreman. Thank you, Jay. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see you next time. Later.